The 49ers would have to lose 2 out of their 3 final games in order to not get the number 1 seed. And Philadelphia or Dallas would also have to win out. Now Dallas plays the Dolphins. And I think that might be their only quote unquote tough game. So they might lose that one. Philadelphia doesn't have any quote unquote tough games, but they do have 2 division games against a Giants team that is not giving up. They're not folding on anybody. Likely both of those teams, let's say they both go undefeated, the 49ers still have to lose 2 of their final 3 just to lose the number 1 seed because they have the tiebreakers. They beat both those teams. So this Ravens game now becomes less important, I would say. And it's interesting because Ryan, you've got 2 number 1 seeds. Okay. Number 1 seed in the AFC versus the number 1 seed in the NFC. Both of them can afford to lose this game. As long as the Ravens beat the Dolphins the following week, they're basically the number 1 seed in the AFC. As long as the 49ers beat the Washington Commanders and the Rams, even if they lose this game, they're still the number 1 seed. So really, both of these teams can quote unquote afford to lose a game. Just overall, before I do have a question as a follow-up, but overall, just how good does it feel knowing that the 49ers are essentially the number 1 seed in the NFC for the first time since 2019?
Well, right now it feels good. I'm a little cautious. Again, I think the 49ers are going to win the Super Bowl, but they have an 88% chance, according to Johnny Chisari here. And about 4 weeks ago, they only had a 10% chance, and now they're the number 1 seed. So about 3 or 4 weeks ago, they had 10% chance of being the number 1 seed, and now they are. Now they have a 12% chance of not being the number 1 seed. So I'm not 100% convinced. Here's what I'm looking at schedule-wise, Jess. The Philadelphia Eagles have a clear route to win out here. They play the Giants twice and the Cardinals. I mean, that's the easiest remaining schedule. The Cowboys actually do have the Lions and the Dolphins, their next 2 games. And then the Commanders, supposedly at the end of that. The Lions are no joke. The Dolphins are no joke. So the Cowboys, I think, are completely out of it. The Eagles have a chance to win out. Now, when it comes to the 49ers schedule, this Ravens game, I think, could be tough. I also think Niner fans are sleeping a little bit on the Rams. And so I'm not 100% sure if we lose to the Ravens, we can't take that Rams game lightly at all.
No, they definitely cannot. I mean, because they're going to have to win the final 2. The Rams might be fighting for a playoff spot. So I agree.
Yeah.
I think just beating the Ravens would be best case scenario, but it's not a must have. Before it was, if the Eagles had won last night, then the 49ers would essentially have had to have gone undefeated. It was a must-have win against the Ravens. Now, all of a sudden, it's a win you want. You don't want to lose the game by any means, but it's not a must-have in the sense that it would have been had the Eagles won last night. And that's what's changed. So the question is, you've got guys like Armstead and Hargrave who are going to be probably questionable throughout this week. If they have any lingering issues from the injuries they have, the foot and I believe the groin, or is it a groin or a hamstring for Hargrave? I forget. Soft tissue injury. Either way, he's got a soft tissue injury. You've got Armstead who's had these foot issues and now has added a knee issue to it, probably because he played through the foot issue. Right, things kind of work their way up the leg as injuries happen. So if you have a foot issue and you play through it, now you've got a knee issue. Knee issue turns into a hip issue, so forth and so on. He's rested the last 2 games, but if there's any lingering issues from those injuries, before it's like, man, all hands on deck, like it was against the Eagles, you're going to need them both. Now it's like, I'm erring on the side of caution. If they can't go, one of them or both of them can't go, or there's any question of, hey, can they make these injuries worse? I'm sitting them, and I wouldn't have felt that way otherwise.
I think I would approach it if I'm the coach. I think I'm going to look at it slightly differently. What I would do is go all out in this Ravens game. For one, it sends a message that you're the best team in the NFL. It humbles the Ravens, who you might see in the Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. And then if you beat the Ravens and you beat the Commanders, then you can take Week 18 off. And now they get Week 18 off. You know what I'm saying? You play the backups. You take week 18 off, and you have the bye week, and you're at home. That to me would be the best scenario that I would. That's how I would look at it. I would try to win this game. I think it's huge. Win 2 more games, and you're a lock. And that's what my focus would be on.
Yeah, certainly I can see that. What I don't want to do is I don't want to have a bye week followed by another bye week. I think that there's a fine line between rest and rust. I think taking 2 weeks off, you're almost setting yourself up for a rust situation. You're going to get the week off for the bye week. The Rams game, I think your starters have got to at least play a half, maybe the full game, just to kind of stay in that mode. So I don't know if I'm taking that approach as far as resting them in week 18. But to your point, what it does do is take the pressure off of having to win that game if they beat the Ravens and beat the Commanders. So I can understand that. Now, let me ask you this. This is not necessarily 49er related, but let's say the Rams get in as the 7th seed. I'm picking them. If the Eagles are the number 2 seed, I'm picking the Rams over the Eagles at this point. The way the Eagles have looked and the way the Rams have looked, I'm picking the Rams to beat the Eagles. What do you think of that take?
I think that's fair, man. I think people are sleeping on the Rams, man. They've been playing really well as of late. They got Matthew Stafford, who's a Hall of Fame quarterback. They beat us in the playoffs. They won a Super Bowl. I don't want to play the Rams in the playoffs. I don't. In the regular season, yeah, let's play them because we dominate them in the regular season. They knocked us out of our opportunity to go to a Super Bowl. I don't want to go through that again. Not that I'm like scared of the Rams. I think the Niners are clearly a better team. But look, the thing about the postseason is when you go against these elite quarterbacks, and it's particularly in the Super Bowl, the 49ers are going to face one elite super quarterback for sure. If it's not Patrick Mahomes or Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen, maybe somebody, an elite quarterback can take over any game. They could just go out and have a great game. We saw Kirk Cousins do it against, and he's not even, I don't know if people would call him elite, but we saw Kirk Cousins do it. We saw Burrows do it. I don't want Lamar Jackson. I mean, I still think the 49ers are going to win the Super Bowl, but you go up against a Patrick Mahomes or a Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson, anything can happen. And I feel the same way about Matthew Stafford, man. The guy is an elite quarterback. He's a Hall of Fame quarterback. And if it's us against them in the playoffs, that scares me, man. So I agree with your take. I think they would probably beat the Eagles, at least the way the Eagles look right now. If the Seahawks can beat the Eagles, the Rams sure as hell can.
Yeah, I think I would much rather see a Dak Prescott, Jared Goff, Jalen Hurts over Stafford. I mean, even if the team's not as good, you're right. I mean, if you get an elite quarterback and they start cooking, there's not much a defense can do about it. There just isn't. And so then you're in a shootout situation. Now, the good thing is the Rams defense isn't that great and the 49ers offense is great. And so they can certainly get in that shootout with a team like the Rams. But if you play Kansas City, for example, if Kansas City goes crazy, all of a sudden they figure out it on offense and you're going against Mahomes and their defense is really good also, your chances lessen, So I'm curious to see how it plays out, but I would agree. I would much rather play like the Lions than I would the Rams. Really, I would.
Yeah.
I would.